Hello, I'm here to do the Booktuber Role Tag, which was started off by Alison Annotated, and part of the reason why she wanted to ask the question was the Washington Post ending its book reviewing columns and wondering if possibly Booktube is a replacement. So a lot of the questions are to do with reviewing and Booktube. I'm going to keep this short because I'm recording this during Wimbledon, which is a tennis term I wait the whole year to watch. So this will not be too long. You can be reassured of that. But I want to start off with thinking about what is Booktube. And it's wildly different from book reviewing in many different ways. I like to think of it, it's more accessible. It is free. You don't have to buy a newspaper or magazine to get it. You can also get to know the person who's stating their preference really quite well. You actually get to see them and watch them, multiple videos, get used to their voices, their voice, their presentation, the books that excite them, and so you know where any recommendation is coming from. Booktube is also searchable and accessible. For example, I could decide that I want now to read a book I've been waiting to read all my life, Herman Melville, Moby Dick, and if I was trying to get help from newspaper reviews, magazine reviews, they'd be no use to me whatsoever. But Booktube is searchable on YouTube. So I could simply type in the name of the book and within a split second I would have a list of lots of different people who had read the book and commented, reviewed, and amongst those I can pick out people that I know and trust from their book reviews in the past. Also, Booktube is a community of interested readers who are interacting. It's a discussion. For example, this is a tag, and a lot of different booktubers have chosen to make their responses to it. So I'm just becoming part of that discussion that's already ongoing. Whereas book reviews tend to be one person stating their opinion, and maybe a little while later somebody may give a response as a letter to the editor or something like that. But this is a live, ongoing debate that's ongoing, and we are independent. Nobody is paying us to do these reviews. Some people, if they get enough traction, if you get a huge number of reviews, of viewers, will earn a small amount of money, but most of us here aren't earning money. We're independent. We also pay for our books, most of us as well. In that way, we're like many other readers who would be watching us. Now, book reviewers tend to be academics or an expert in the area, or often they're advertising themselves. It'll say at the bottom, this review was by such a person, their book is coming out next July, and it's one of these kind of things. We are independent. We don't have things to gain dramatically. We are giving an independent opinion. We also take much more risk. We're open to criticism. Someone can type in comments and it's directed to us and to people who are watching our channel can see those. Whereas if somebody does a review in a newspaper or magazine, there may be a letter to the editor a week later or something like that. But we are directly putting our head above the parapet and saying we really like this book or we don't like this book. And we know that we will get a response, and not all of it's going to be happy. We review and talk about books that are way beyond the newly published. Now, the whole publishing marketing thing at the moment is to get as many people buying your book in the first week, the first moment that it comes out. And this is happening similarly with films and publicity as well. And this is how you get to become this supposedly phenomenal success, overnight success, and top rated in newspapers and so forth. And then the discussion kind of dies away. We are continuously talking about books that are in the past, that were published weeks ago, months ago, years ago, decades ago, centuries ago, in some cases millennia ago. And we're still bringing up the discussion about them. We're still bringing them to the attention of people who are watching. Also, as a community, we have read-alouds, where a booktuber is actually going to read the book to you and maybe give a few comments as well. We have read-alongs where there are discussion groups like book clubs reading the same book at the same time. And then you can also do something called a buddy read where you just informally make an arrangement with the booktuber to say, let's read this book at the same time and have private discussions about it. So this is all far more than you're getting in a review in a newspaper, I think you'll find. Across Booktube, because it's so vast, there are a whole range of people who are, in a sense, specialists in their area. Now, they're not bringing to that the academic study and rigour of a book reviewer, but nevertheless, they're people who've read widely in a particular genre that is their favourite. And they have read so many different books, they have quite a good sense of what's good, what's worth recommending, what is above the average. So we've got specialisms in women writers, cinema, cosy crime, pulp and horror, Victorian novels, the American Deep South and Justice, economics and World War II, classic literature, poetry, works which are going out of copyright, science fiction, nonfiction, Victorian genre fiction, old books, history books, military history and theology, UK prizes in fiction, French books, life lessons through books, and then we also have an international range as well. So I know that I can look at book people that I follow and find something that's Canadian, Holland, books in Holland, South Africa, Australia and Germany. And I'll give the channel titles for those in my notes. So if any of those are things you think, oh, I would like some recommendations, you can get to those. So I hope I've given you an overview that says that Booktube is not the same as book reviewing, but it's very different, and it is an interactive community with lots of breadth in it that is not happening in a normal review. Let's get to the questions now. That was only just the preamble, but this is still going to be short. Remember, I have got a tournament to watch. I've got people to cheer for. Question 1. How do you view your role as a booktuber? Well, I think mine is to come on and talk excitedly about books that I particularly like. And for me, a lot is going to be second-hand and older books. And I would tend to talk about the arts, humour and spirituality. And I would encourage creativity. Some of my videos are actually about people who would like to start writing, because I have done some courses, I've taught some courses as writing creativity tutor. So you get the benefit of those mixed in amongst the book videos. Also, poetry's in there as well. Question 2. Educational background. Is your educational background in literary or literary criticism? Well, I think literary criticism is a very narrow little field. And text for me, because I'm interested in across the arts, intermediality, or interarts as you may think of it, a text can be a picture, a film, and a performance, not just words flat on a page. And in our current society, I think that's particularly helpful, because something that starts as a book will tend to move across the various other genres and have influence and be influenced by them and their works as well. My main qualification is that I'm a keen reader, I'm a lifelong reader, and I think that's quite helpful to bring along to the party, so to speak, to the book club in a way that Booktube is. 3. Do you typically do research before reviewing a book? Yes. I don't review a book like a literary reviewer. I think it's an important case to make. But I do research very much the book, when it was written, who it was written by. I do tend to look into that even before I'll think of reading a book sometimes as well. And that's for my own interest. The one book review that I have done, or book I've talked about on my channel, is West with the Night, where I set out to try and do it in a more measured way, like a literary review, as an exercise. And it has been far and away my favourite, my most viewed video. And you can look at it and see what you think of how I've done that and see how it is very different from other videos I make, which tend to be about bunches of books rather than just concentrating on one book only. Question 4. Do I focus reviews more on objective or subjective opinions? I would say it's a mix of both. I talk about the ones I've got something to contribute to, something that I first of all think is worth somebody else's time to read, and then that I have something to say about the book. Otherwise, I could just feature, here are the 100 most talked about books, whether I like them or not. I would get far more views. People would be, oh, it's a list, and jump into that. But actually, I'm being selective, and as we all are, we all have to be selective with the amount of time we've got. Question 5. Do you receive a free book from an author? No, never, ever, ever. 6. Do you review every book you read? No. Only those that I think are well worth the reader's time. 7. How do you feel about the fact that many people now rely on Booktube recommendations than on professional critics? Well, a string of questions immediately spring to mind from that. 1. Is this a true fact that people rely more on Booktube? Where does that fact come from? 2, most of the time people rely on word of mouth, I think you'll find, and always have. 3, a professional book critic may not read in every genre. So a large review, only journals usually ask another writer in the same area, but they're not objective. Writers know each other, there are friendships, there's jealousies, there's quid pro quo. I am not involved in that world. So in a sense, I'm more objective. Next point, booktubers can be detached because they're not getting paid for this review. Again, I think booktubers are accessible. We're different in that way. Some book criticism can be quite show-offy or written for people who have done a degree in English literature. So there's quite a high entry level or expectation of the reader to be at a certain academic point. We speak as person to person. And many readers haven't done a degree in English literature. And in fact, sometimes doing degrees in English literature can be damaging to your health and reading and spoil your enjoyment of it. Or also sometimes creative writing classes as well, if you've gone and done a formal study in that. We don't talk over a roomful's head. We're not just there to impress one other person at the right, inverted commas, rank. We are trying to make a person-to-person connection with someone like ourselves who is simply a reader. Now, as to what is disappearing if Booktube is being used for recommendations, I think I'm going to refer you to a professional book reviewer, and that would be Steve Donoghue. His answer for this is key. I think he's much more aware of what is being lost, if indeed this is the trend. However, I don't think everybody knows about Booktube. I'm constantly surprised by the number of readers who are avid and keen, and I mention Booktube and there's just a blank look. And in a sense, I really find it through COVID, which is like 2020, so that's quite recently for me. And already at that point, there were lots of channels that had been and gone, and there were others who were doing different things, and some people have joined and started since then. So I'm not sure that it's necessarily where people are getting their recommendations from, but I do know that for me, when certain booktubers that I know and trust give a very high recommendation for a book and it's in my subject area of interest, I'm much more likely to immediately jump to researching it, finding out about the author, the title, how much does it cost, can I get a second hand, all the rest of the questions. So those are my thoughts on the Booktuber tag. I hope that's been helpful. I hope to see some comments coming through for this. Bye for now.